Hi, Tony. I'm so glad you came back again this week. I kind of wanted to pick up where we left off. You mentioned something that has been bothering you about buying a house or moving in with your boyfriend. Um, I don't know if things have changed, if they've progressed. I know you mentioned something about putting a purchase offer in on a home.
Yeah. So we're still kind of in the same area. We've put a offer in on a home and it's it was reviewed yesterday. This morning they were telling us that they just had a few other stipulations but wanted to accept our offer. So as much as I'm excited about that, I also am nervous. It makes this whole moving thing real. Not that it wasn't before, but there's an actual thing in the future. We're going to move, it's actually going to probably happen, our offer is going to be accepted, and then we're going to have to tell our parents, like our parents know that we're looking, and they're kind of okay with that. Like my parents are more, you're 30, kind of do what you want. His parents are, even though we're older, kind of have some different traditions. And so they're like, should you guys be buying a house? You're not married. Like, how are you going to pay for this? And like, we have some of that figured out. I guess it just makes it, I don't know, more pressure on the situation. Um, like while you're buying a house and putting the offer in, then it's like, what are closing costs? What is the down payment? How are we going to move? When are we going to move? Are we going to have time off of work? What needs to be set up? Or do their utilities? Like there's just so much with buying a house and then making this commitment with your significant other for 30 years, if not more.
It's definitely a lot to consider, that's for sure. Did you know that buying a house is one of the most, I think, like top anxiety producing events that can occur in your life? So it certainly makes sense that you would be feeling this way. It's certainly a big decision.
Yeah, I didn't know that, but I definitely
Yeah.
can understand why. You're right. It's this huge decision, and while it's also a huge decision, there's the other, like the relationship factor that goes into it. Like we're committing to 30 years and we're not married, which is fine, normal for my generation, but not necessarily normal as much anymore.
So what is it that you mentioned a few different things, I heard you say more his family is more traditional. They're older. You feel a little nervous about this financial commitment and also the commitment to one another, making payments.
Yes, those are all, I would say yes to all of those. The financial commitment worries me, and not necessarily worries me, it's like anxiety in the sense of like, I know how I handle my finances.
Mhm.
I don't know how he handles his finances. So getting on the same page, because we have talked about sharing money. So getting on the same page and what that's going to look like will be important. I very much, he's seen my budget and I have like an OCD budget. And I want to continue that. So whether he goes along for that or not is a different story. But it is like, when you're combining with someone else too, like, how do you do yours? How do I do mine? And how do we spend money separately and together? And are we going to be on the same page of like, you get this much or I get this much, or we have to, do we have to like level things out? And I've just never had to share with anyone.
It's for sure, it's a big commitment. That might be something you want to revisit with him about the finances. It
Yeah,
might make you feel more comfortable if you address that sooner rather than later.
yeah, that's true. And I think this makes it more real of like a topic that needs to be addressed, versus just something we can like flimsy talk about. But now it's like, well, if we actually accept or they actually accept our offer, then this is real and we do need to talk about like finances,
Mhm.
and how we want to do that. And then I think kind of going into the other part of his parents and the tradition, and I don't think it's necessarily anxiety provoking, but just more irritating than anything. Like,
Okay.
there is some anxiety with it, but it's like I'm 30, he's 29, and it's do we really, why do you think we need your permission? And
Is that how they make you feel?
that's how I feel about it, but my parents are so different though too. Like, yes, they're very involved with my life, but they're also like, do what you want. We're gonna support that decision. And after, like if it blows up in your face, like we're not gonna say anything to you. We'll still be there and we'll talk you through it about what could have been different. But like right now, it's just like you are your own person. We can't tell you what to do and we can't implement our beliefs on you. And that's what I'm used to. And so I'm not used to this other part of, well, these are our beliefs and you need to like abide by them, which I don't think is fair or right.
How does your significant other handle his parents?
Sometimes it depends. Sometimes he agrees and sometimes with me and sometimes he agrees with them. And I think sometimes like I think there's times where he doesn't want to like rock the boat with him, so he just or with his parents, so he just goes along with it. And I think it's crap.
So I was gonna ask you how that would make you feel when he kinda rocks the boat and isn't always solidly on board with you. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, it it's frustrating. I understand it because I've seen how dramatic his family can be. It's just sometimes I just want that like all up front support there. And then I go back to being like, okay, like I understand why he has to do this because if it's not this way in this moment, then it's a headache later on down the road. Whereas like when we go home, it's still what we want it to be.
And that's something that you and him can talk through?
Most of the time, yeah. Sometimes we have to like come back to it. Sometimes it's a little heated and I'm mad,
Mhm.
so I have to come back to it.
So do you have a date? Have you found out when they're gonna come back to you with a definite whether your offer is accepted or not?
We were told either later today or tomorrow.
Oh, that's quick. Okay. All right. So do you think that's something you're gonna be able to move forward with?
I think so. This house is something that we both really want and that we're both on the same page with. And we have talked about like a future together too, and that we don't like we do want to get married in the future. So I think we're just doing things in our own way and it's kind of backwards, which I do still have some of those traditional beliefs like from, when growing up little with my families where it's like you get a you get married, you buy a house and those things. But so I think it's that the commitment piece maybe to me of yes, we're buying a house and that's a commitment, but the bigger commitment where you can't leave is marriage.
So maybe that's part of this.
Maybe. Um, I mean, we've talked about it. I think, so it's there. It's not that it isn't there. We've for sure talked about it.
I mean, do you think that that is part of where some of your anxiety is coming from?
I Yeah, because while buying a house, and I don't know why in my mind why I would tell you they're different, but in my mind, while buying a house is a 30-year commitment, there's also a way out of that. And whereas marriage, it seems a little more real or solid, even though there's a way out of it too. Like, but look at it that way, I guess.
Well, it sounds like you have a pretty good partner, someone you can work through things with, and also you have a family that you can rely on as well for guidance. and that helps tremendously.
Yeah. Those are all very true and valid, and I just sometimes have to remind myself of that.
And I think we're going to stop for now.
Okay.
Okay.